Hey gents, today we're going to talk about Allen Edmonds belts, my thoughts on them, and if they are worth it, which, spoiler, I think they are. So I'll put a link to Allen Edmonds below so you can check them out. You're gonna pay about $100 for one of their belts. Their standard price is $98. However, on a lot of their sales, they'll go down to $50 for some of the less popular models, but then you can also get some crocodile and alligator ones for $300 to $400. But most people are gonna pay about $100 for the belts. I think they do offer a reversible one, and I want to put out, I can't remember if I've said this in other videos, I think nobody should have a reversible belt. The idea is fantastic. You buy one belt, you can swap it around brown or black, but in reality, every belt that I've ever tried that is reversible, the mechanism either squeaks, it's usually not made of the best leather. Allen Edmonds actually does make one, so I would be curious if I had a nicer leather and nicer hardware reversible belt, if that worked. But basically, the whole first 10 years of my style journey, I was going to Macy's or JCPenney and buying reversible belts, and I don't have any of those anymore, but I do have one belt that I bought for $95 that is still going very strong. We will dive into the belt, but I want to go over all of Allen Edmonds' offerings at first, and then I'm going to put the belts into a classification from most dressy to the most casual right after that. And so then we will dive right into this. So the most option you'll have with the colors is going to be in their wide basic line, and the wide basic is one of the more standard dress belts. Then they also have the mainstay. I want to say mainstay, but I'm going to call it the mainstay, which is the perforated one that I just showed you at the beginning of the video. And then you have the Glass Avenue and the Midland. I'd say those four, I would guess, are a majority of the belts that they sell and that most guys will end up with. Then you have a ton of options and some really unique ones too. They have a Stitch Avenue, which is a unique design with their classic stitching. They have the Ace Avenue, the Strand Avenue, which has the broguing on the belt, as does that mainstay that we talked about. Allen Edmonds has some really beautiful woven leather shoes, and you can get the matching leather belt. And then you get into some of the exotic materials, alligator and crocodile, and then you have cordovan. And so each of those, that's when the price really goes up into the $300 to $400 range. And the cordovan belts, when I was recording this, were on discount, and I was like, maybe I'm gonna get one of those cordovan belts. Because if you have a shell cordovan belt, that belt will literally last forever. It will outlast you, and actually that is a nice segue into the Allen Edmonds belts. I think it is said that belts are a very high margin product, which is why it's like when you go into a suit shop, suit shops would carry belts because it was like an upsell on the suit. You could sell an extra thing and it's a nice high margin. I don't think that a product being high or low margin means that it is a good or bad product. I think that if they're delivering value, and that is where I think Allen Edmonds comes in. So $100 for a belt. I think for most guys, they really only have a handful of dress shoes. If they have any, they have like 1, 2, maybe 3 dress shoes. You have brown and a black and maybe a brogue. Now there's the Allen Edmonds enthusiasts, which have dozens of shoes. I see those collections. I'm absolutely shocked and flabbergasted. But for most guys, you want a really nice dress shoe that you can wear to weddings and to funerals, or if you have to get dressed up at work and interviews. And so I think for most guys that are gonna get 1 or 2 shoes, a black and a brown, spending the extra $100 on the matching belt from Allen Edmonds, it really helps to ease the decision making as to what belt you're gonna wear. And I know a few guys in sales that do this, is they have their one pair of Allen Edmonds strands and they have the matching leather belt and they look sharp. And that's where I think Allen Edmonds really brings in value in the leather belt space, because most leather belts, when you're going and buying them at Macy's and JCPenney, they're not made with a nice leather, and that's why they wear out over time. They end up not looking great, and you hang on for them too long because you spent $20 on the belt. But what really sets Allen Edmonds apart in the belt space is that they use the same leather, not just in color, but the same leather from their shoes, which is rich and beautiful, and like the leather that Allen Edmonds uses for a $395 shoe is very good. And they put that same leather in their belts, and so you don't have to go with, this is the mainstay model with the broguing. I think a pair of the burnished strands or the Fifth Avenues with this belt and a pair of dark denim is like a killer casual look. And I mean, everybody these days is business casual. I think that's a killer look. But this is the wide belt. It's just your standard stitching, very standard hardware buckle on here. But the hardware and the leather that Allen Edmonds uses on this is extremely solid. That to me is where a lot of the value comes in delivering these. And the fact that on top of that, you can buy the belt that matches your shoe exactly. And I think if you have a pair of Strands or Fifth Avenues or Park Avenues, and you buy that matching belt to be exactly the shade with the exact leather that was used in the shoes to really match your outfit, and don't even try and do a black belt with brown shoes. Like, please, I think we're beyond that as a society of guys. I think we understand that that is wrong. But in the way that a pair of Allen Edmonds shoes could be that one pair of shoes for 10 years, yes, you spend $400 on it, but it's going to outlast buying a bunch of cheap Cole Haan or Johnston Murphy shoes. The belt is the same way, and I would argue that the belt would last even longer because it gets less wear and tear, and in the way that a really nice leather can hold up to the clasp going through and keeping your pants held up is bar none to like a genuine leather belt that you'll see at those department stores. So Allen Edmonds has always been known for using some of the finest European and American leathers. They also use hardware that's made in Italy, and so you are getting the fine crafts of Allen Edmonds, but in a belt. And yes, there can be sticker shock at $98, but having purchased so many shoes in this similar price point and belts where I'm trying to pick up a belt for $50, $75. Now, I don't want the department store one, I want the slightly nicer one. I still think Allen Edmonds at $98 is a very, very good value. It's not a great deal, but I think it's a great value based on what you are getting. So those are Allen Edmonds belts. As I said at the top of the video, I think they are absolutely worth it, especially if you're the kind of guy that's only gonna buy a handful of dress shoes. You want that perfect belt to match and just make it very simple on there. And so those are Allen Edmonds belts. Love to answer any questions or objections you might have. I'd love to debate you down in the comments. You can also reach out at @_Kavalier on Twitter and Instagram. Let me know if you think there's a better value belt out there. Let me know as well, and I'll take a look, because clearly I love buying things, but I love to distill the information that I can and give it to you in the best way possible so you can make the best decision. That is the whole point of this channel, and I appreciate you watching. Done rambling on this one, and all this sort of stuff. Until next time, gents, this is the Kavalier.